Hey, do you hate your ugly kitchen countertop? I used to hate mine too, but today we're gonna fully transform the Hot Mess Lake House kitchen countertops from this to this for under $200, so let's go ahead and get started. With this specific contact paper, it is definitely a two-person job because it's 39 inches wide, which is one of the largest widths that I was able to find on the market. And Dustin was such a rock star during this process. He got on the countertops and was pulling it tight as I was smoothing it down. Now, I was just using my hands. I do wish that I would have got a contact paper little smoothing tool because I think it would have helped reduce bubbles a little bit, but we're gonna get rid of those later, so not a huge deal. I also think it was really just where the sink started. I think it kind of like went in a little bit and that created bubbles for after the sink, because before it was really, really simple. And you will notice that I did have painter's tape on both sides of the roll before I started, and that's just so that I could visually see how far I needed it to go over on each side, so I had enough to wrap it. And like I said, this is pretty large, so I used Rick and some other things to hold it down while I made my cut. We decided to cut this part first because we knew it was gonna be tricky. We had the cabinets up top, we had an oven on one side and a refrigerator on the other, and so getting this part was super, super frustrating. I was like almost crying on live, but once we did it, it wasn't too bad once we had figured it out, but it wasn't perfect. You know what, that's fine though, because do your best, caulk the rest. We've got some tricks up our sleeve to make sure that this turns out good. Now, I did have to overlap paper because even though this is really wide, it didn't come long enough for my countertops. Oh my gosh, I wish it did, because it was just barely off, like maybe a few inches, but that's okay. I decided that I was gonna do it so all the seams were over in this corner, and essentially I could kind of cover it up with a tray or some decor. And let me tell you, at the end of it, you really do not notice that it's there. Like, you wouldn't be able to notice that that seam was there unless I told you. This part definitely had the most bubbles, and it was super frustrating. I tried to use that spatula, but it did not really work. And my camera that I was recording on fell over, so we were just having a time. Okay, on to how we actually wrap the edges and make it look really nice. You're just gonna cut it and wrap it sort of like a present. So these when I did it onto my laminate countertops, and it stuck very, very well. Now, when I went under, because it's not such a smooth surface, which I'll kind of get into later, back by the oven, I did end up using some construction adhesive under there just to like double make sure that it would stay in place. And I used some painter's tape to hold that while it was drying. I'm using the hairdryer also to sort of form it. Now, we are gonna need the hairdryer a lot more later when we get to the rounded edges, so stay tuned for that. But this really helps the adhesive, and it kind of stretches out the paper and helps with any bubbles. I did want to make sure that I cut off any excess that would go, like after I wrapped it, would go onto the cabinet, because I didn't want it to peel off any of the paint. As much as I would have loved to just put the contact paper directly onto that little backsplash in one piece, it was just not gonna work because everything was way too tight in here. Plus I had like 3 cameras recording. It was kind of a mess. But I wanted this seam to look a little bit more natural, because it was kind of weird that it was going over that, but I had to go over that so that I could tuck it under. So I did pull it back and I cut it. That was a bold choice, and luckily it went well for me. Again, I'm just cutting off that excess, and I'm kind of cutting it not all the way up to the bottom, but so that I can do it in sections. Again, using that hairdryer, I did use a clamp on the corners or in different places that it was having a little trouble sticking down, maybe because the underside of it was a little more rough than other parts. But overall, the straight edges were very simple, and I would have loved to do this part all day versus what comes next. the corners. Now listen, you guys, we're about to get to the corners and let me tell you, not very fun. If I had normal square countertop corners, this would have been so much easier and it would have probably be looking even better. But I have rounded ones, so I had to heat the contact paper up and pull it down, which is not a big deal, but it's kind of hard to do it all by yourself, like all at once. So at some point I do have Dustin kind of come in and hold the hairdryer, but then that's also hard too because I was moving the hairdryer to heat up certain spots of it and you have to work quickly, so I couldn't really tell him as fast as like my brain was going what I needed. So once I had that part down, I clamped it to kind of hold it in place. I didn't cut anything yet. There are some little bumps at the corner. I'm not gonna lie, it's not perfect, but it doesn't look tragic. Okay, it could have looked a lot worse. So overall, I'm pretty happy with how the corners came out, but I would recommend having somebody else help you with this and having some clamps, because the clamps, although not necessary, I felt like they really helped secure everything in place when I was kind of struggling a little bit. It's the next day. I needed to stop because I was tired. I don't know why I keep getting asked questions like, aren't you scared that you can't cut on the countertop? Do people do that? Oh, I don't think that the gold's gonna match. That makes me really sad. It does feel really good quality though, so that's cool. I don't know. Okay, let's go put it against something. Oh guys, this is like the biggest disappointment ever. It's so pretty and it's heavy and it's like good quality, but they just don't match at all. This is more of like an actual gold, but it makes these, even though those are not rose gold, they're champagne bronze, which is what this said it was, but it's not. And it makes those look really rose goldy, and it just definitely doesn't match. Now I have really no idea what I'm gonna do. Cry, I guess? I mean, this looks good. Yeah, the sink is pretty. Remember those air bubbles I was talking about earlier? So I just used my utility blade to go ahead and kind of like pop them. It would be better if I had like a little pin, but I just didn't, so I used what I had on hand. And then the sink was giving me trouble inside, so I ended up just cutting that off because honestly, the sink's gonna go over it anyway. And then I cut the pieces to do the backsplash and installed that. And of course, Rick the Brick had to help. Here's the situation. I want to caulk the seams of the contact paper because I wasn't able to just run it directly up. I had to do separate pieces. So to make sure that it's watertight and everything, I want to caulk it. I'm not sure that the white that I would normally use is going to look like super good. No, I'm just looking at this and I realize it's not the kitchen and bath one. I mean, it's basically all the same stuff, right? We're gonna test them out to see how they dry on a scrap piece. That's where I'm going with this. Yeet that off. Ow, there we go. Did you guys know that there's that little, that's what this little thing is for on your caulk gun? So I mean, it's white. These were the only two gray ones that they had. Yeet. Gotta pop this one. That one I think is too warm. Okay, that's probably the best match, but it's for outside, so I don't know if I can use that. I'll Google it, but we're gonna let them dry for like 30 minutes to see how the colors change. First coat is done. Actually really happy that I tested all of these and I let them dry, because at first I was going to use the one on the right, but it turned out way darker after it dried, so I went ahead and used the white, and I also caulked any of the seams just so no water will get in anywhere and it will stay sealed and good. Am I absolutely insane? The answer is yes. Did I order 4 different colors of this faucet because I am now in love with it since I saw the first one, and I'm just really trying to match it the best that I can? Also, yes. I kept getting the suggestion that I should paint or spray paint my hardware and my hinges. Do you guys know how long it took me to find hinges that matched my hardware? I'm not painting it. I'm not doing it. We're going to look at them in the actual kitchen lighting and compare them to the hardware, the hinges, see what's going on. All of them are stunning, if I'm being honest with you. None of them match. But somebody left me a comment saying that I should just go with the first one because they're not twins, but they are sisters. And I really like that. This is the original one. This is the champagne gold. And here is the hardware. They're in the same color family, so I feel like it's not that bad. Gold is hard to match, and honestly, that's kind of the reason I never use it. But these champagne bronze, like, these were just calling my name and I needed to use them, and so alas, here we are. Here is the black, which I love this. I think even if I don't use this in the kitchen, I might keep this and switch out the faucet that came with our laundry sink to this one, because this is way cuter. And then they don't match, but they do match. You know what I mean? Like, they're not meant to match. So I feel like this is actually a really good option. Here is their like normal gold color. This is definitely like a deep golden, warm gold, and it's so pretty. It looks very luxe. You know, if this one had the same brushed finish as the other ones, I actually think it would probably be the closest match to this one. But since it's so shiny, I don't think that's gonna work. The undertones aren't quite the same. Although this is really stunning and I thought this one would be the one that I would go with, I don't actually think so. This is their red copper is what they call it. It's definitely a rose gold. You can see how these are not rose gold when you compare it to something like true rose gold. Honestly, I do think this could work too. I don't know. Might be just like a little too pink. I don't know if I cut this out of the video or not because I was just basically crying about faucets for like ever, but this one, I just don't like it. It seems very cheap. That won't stay in. I don't know if that's like a me problem or what. The finish on it looks cheap. It does almost match, but in person, this is actually super yellow. It reads better on camera, but it's not the vibe. I'm leaning towards going with the original champagne gold and kind of, as the comment said, let them be sisters and not twins, or going with the black. I think the gold is just too deep, and you know, the rose gold is pretty, but I don't feel like it's quite as elegant. I feel like it kind of takes away from these being like this fabulous little color that they are, but I still haven't decided. Stay tuned, I suppose. We are going to install the faucet today. Which one did you pick? Fun fact, it's the first one I bought. I could have saved myself a lot of time, money, trouble. But you know, I like to do things the hard way. It says it's super easy, but we're going to figure that out right now. If you install your faucet before you install your sink, like you install it on the sink before you actually install the sink, it's way easier because then you don't have to like crawl under the sink to hook most of it up. You really just have to attach the water lines. So if you're replacing your sink, install your faucet on your sink first. Oh. Do I just stick these in? Oh, haha, okay. Okay, actually that wasn't as hard as I thought. So I just had to shove it in here and then just twist it around. That's what she said. Oh, wow. There she is. There we go. You ready to put this sink in?
Move that sink!
Yeah, I actually really don't even know how.
I was gonna say, how do I move my fingers from not getting smushed? But it's okay. If it gets smushed, it gets smushed. Ready?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing.
You have to kind of like tilt it.
Can you let go of this side or no?
I don't know. Yeah, you can. How do we get these in though? Oh! I am absolutely living for how the kitchen turned out. I'm still kind of debating if I should stay with this gold one. I still have the black one. I don't know, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I cannot wait to get started on the backsplash. That video is coming soon, so make sure that you subscribe and ring that bell notification so that you never miss when I upload next. If you guys want any of the products that I use, you can find all of the links in the description box below. I just want to say thank you guys so much for all of your love and support, and I cannot wait to see you guys next Hot Mess Monday. Bye!